I've been lifting for over 3 years now, but honestly, I wasted a lot of that time. If I could go back with the knowledge and experience that I have right now, I could have gotten twice the results in half the time. Lifting, building muscle mass, and getting jacked is not complicated. It's a very simple process, and most guys just aren't aware of how much progress that they can make in such a short amount of time. That's why I made this video, so that you can get your results in a much more simpler way with a much faster process. So we're gonna rip the band-aid off and start off with the toughest point first. And the first point I wanna make is about stimulus. And if we're gonna be very honest, most of you need to put a lot more focus on this part. Training hard and achieving a growth stimulus, it's the hardest part about lifting. It's the most uncomfortable part. It's also non-negotiable. Without the stimulus, nothing else is going to happen. This is like step one. It's like the funnel of the business. This is step one. You need to push yourself to a point where you are actually pushing your body to its limits. That's the only real way that you're going to be able to drive serious growth. There are countless guys who show up to the gym but don't apply themselves 100%. They don't push themselves hard enough. And even if you show up to the gym and push yourself, 70, 80% of the way, your results are not going to show up. You're not going to see the gains that you want to see. The truth is that gains rely on you to push very hard. Showing up, doing pump work, spending hours in the gym, spending many days of the week in the gym, all of that, these things don't matter that much. Maybe for a complete beginner, for your first couple weeks, you might notice minimal gains. But if you're really trying to drive growth and see real progress, you gotta be pushing yourself hard and you gotta be achieving the stimulus that's needed to grow muscle. The next point, which is not talked about often enough, is recovery. And so recovery includes resting time, it also includes your diet. This is the next most important thing. Right after stimulus, you need to have recovery. Those are basically the only two things that actually matter. If you can have both of those things, you're gonna get jacked. The issue is no one talks about recovery and most people don't do it correctly. Whenever I speak with a normal person, an average person who hits the gym casually, or they're not really into fitness but they still want to achieve their goals, one of the first questions a lot of these people are going to ask is, how long have you been working out for? Or how many days a week do you go to the gym? The thing that they don't realize, they're always shocked by my answers, especially back when I was only 6 months into the gym. Obviously now I'm 3 years, so they're not as shocked anymore, but they were always shocked. Like I say 2 days a week, 3 days a week. And before, when I was new to the gym, I would say 4 months, 6 months, 9 months. They'd be like, wow, that's crazy. This is possible in 9 months. Obviously I didn't look the exact way I do now, but it was still a lot of muscle mass. It was still an impressive physique. And so the truth is the average person, and probably maybe even you to some extent, might associate, the time spent in the gym, both, in terms of days of the week and in terms of how long total you've been lifting for. They associate that with your success in the gym. They associate that directly with results. Like that correlates with results. Like they think the guy who spends 2 hours every day in the gym is going to be the biggest guy, or is going to be the most successful guy, the guy making the most progress. In reality, that's just not true. The truth is, I made the most progress when I stayed as minimal as possible and dialed in on exactly what mattered and made sure that each of my sets were high quality sets. And that'll lead me to my next point in just a second, but let me just finish off on recovery. A lot of people actually do train hard and they do push themselves to a good limit, and they achieve a growth stimulus, they achieve what they need in order to experience growth, but then they just don't allow their body to realize that stimulus. They don't recover properly, and so what ends up happening is that they just don't experience the growth, they just don't see progress because they didn't allow their body to rest and realize the gains. And even worse, sometimes when you push yourself too far or you do this long enough, what happens is you actually start regressing, or even worse, people get injured because of overuse issues, because they're breaking down their muscles and they're just not allowing that muscle enough time to recover. Anyway, so we were just talking about high quality sets. So high quality sets are worth their weight in gold. One high quality set is worth more than 10 mediocre average sets that most people end up doing in the gym. You really want to make sure that almost every single set that you do in the gym is high quality. That's when you're going to actually experience real growth and real results. And so how do you do that? What you need to do is you need to make sure that you're training in the correct rep range. You're not training 5 reps, 6 reps, you're training more than 8 reps, ideally 10 to 12 reps, and you're pushing yourself in a manner that's very, very close to failure. And I'm not talking, RPE close to failure. I'm talking you're pushing yourself to the point where you have struggled a lot to do that last rep. you barely got that last rep up. That's when you know that you pushed yourself hard enough. If that last rep wasn't a struggle, like you didn't have to make some sort of grunt, there was no real extra little anger that you needed to push that last rep, chances are you didn't push yourself hard enough. You might have felt like you got uncomfortable, it felt hard. I don't doubt that, but the truth of the matter is that most people are not doing quality sets. They push themselves to a point where it gets hard, but not to the point of failure. There's a pretty decent gap between that, and a lot of people just don't realize that. And so unless you make a very conscious effort to push through the part where it gets hard and get to the point of failure, what ends up happening is that you just don't end up pushing yourself hard enough. And also, in regards to quality sets, I want to touch up on this point about rep ranges. Training in lower rep ranges, training in 3 to 5 rep ranges, I don't care what the studies say. I'm going to tell you right now that if you train in a rep range that's low, you're not going to see significant muscle gains. If you're putting the weight down after you've only done 3 reps, 5 reps, you're not going to see, massive growth. You need more time under tension and you need more repetitions. A lot of guys are just against this. They hear me say this and they just don't want to do it. And I think that the reality is that it's just harder when you think about it. If you have to grind out 10 reps or 12 reps, the thought of that is it's not appealing compared to if I said, okay, you're doing a set of 5 or 6 reps. That sounds a lot more fun. It's like, okay, now we're gonna just test our limit and see how much weight we can do. But if I said we have to push ourselves close to failure on a set of 10 to 12 reps, that sounds so much more unsexy. It's like hard and difficult and you have to grind it out. But the reality is the real results are on the other side of the hard work that you're avoiding. And that's the reason why most people don't do that. And that's the reason why most people don't see real significant gains. So it's up to you if you want to make serious gains or if you just want to be like everyone else and go to the gym for fun. All right, the last point, I want to end on a bit of a lighter note. So the last thing I would say is, be highly motivated for the gym, but more specifically, be highly motivated to do the hard work. So a lot of guys, they get motivated to show up to the gym and get that pump, see the results, make a lot of progress, but they have the end goal in mind, which is good, but they have to realize that to get to the end goal, they have to do the hard work to get to that point. And a lot of people, they're not motivated to do the hard work, they're only motivated to get to the end. And so what ends up happening is that sometimes when they're not feeling good, when they're not feeling highly motivated, their stomach's hurting, whatever, is that they end up not showing up to the gym, they end up missing days, they can't stay consistent, they're skipping legs, whatever the issue is. I've seen that a million times. You gotta be motivated, not for the result, but for the work. You gotta be motivated to do the hard work. You gotta want to deserve it, if that makes sense. You have to not want the result, you have to want to deserve the result. That's the way in which you're gonna be able to actually see real gains. And the best way to do that is to find some reason as to why you're intrinsically motivated, why the gym resonates with your identity, why it resonates with your persona. Listen, working out can be great fun. And I'm not saying don't have fun. Don't have those days where you go and hit a PR and you feel really good about yourself and you're dapping up your friends. Don't have the days where you have cool videos you shoot and you see the pump, or the days where you meet a girl in the gym, whatever it is, man. I'm not saying don't do that. The gym is great fun and I encourage you to do it. It's gonna improve your life, partly because of this reason. But if you want to make real gains, you gotta realize that sometimes it's gonna be hard and you gotta push through if you want to deserve those gains. That's the only way you can see real lasting results that you're going to be proud of. Remember, if it wasn't hard, then it wasn't worth having. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this kind of content, this is the kind of content I plan to make where I help guys make that transformation from skinny to jacked. I'm all about making that process as fast and as easy as possible because it truly is once you focus up and lock in on the things that actually matter. If that sounds like of interest to you, be sure to hit the subscribe button to stick around for more content. Check out the link in the description on my free checklist for how to build your next 15 pounds of muscle. Like the video if you did. Comment your thoughts down below. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.